A very good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Last time when I had a session, I don't know how many of you were present last week? Oh, only 3 of you. Others are new. Many had asked me a few questions on how to prepare for civil service. So what I'll do today is to take you through a video that I had recorded some time ago, which outlines as to how should you prepare for your civil service examination. Now, this may appear to be a bit different from whatever people have told you, because this is very different, because I personally feel that the preparation for the civil service is as much preparation for preparing for civil service than preparing itself. And as you see the video, you'll understand what I'm saying. So what we will do is to run you through this video, note down the points that I mentioned in the video here, though this is available on YouTube as well, but note down the points. And if you have any questions, we will have sufficient time thereafter, about 10 to 15 minutes after this video, to take your questions on. But my suggestion is note down what I have stated here very carefully, listen to it very carefully, because this may be very different from what you would have been told on how to prepare for civil service. Okay, so can we have the video?
studyIQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन,
studyIQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन, हमारा मिशन.
Superannuated in the year 2000. Hello everyone. When I superannuated in the year 2018, I started assisting many aspirants to civil service. So whatever I'm going to talk to you about UPSC civil service examination preparation is based on my personal experience and my experience in guiding a large number of aspirants during the past almost 7 years. As I was going through providing assistance and guidance to aspirants, I came across this organization called studyIQ. I had been going all around the country speaking to such aspirants. But when I did come over to studyIQ, I discovered that they are more into guidance than coaching, and that's what my objective was. I had always felt that civil service aspirants required more of guidance than coaching. And that's why I got myself associated with studyIQ, and I'm happy that I did, because whatever I'm seeing of this organization has really encouraged me to go ahead with the objectives that I had in mind to guide the civil servants. Today, I'll be talking to you about how to prepare for civil service examination. It is indeed one of the most tough examinations in the country, or I would say in the world. There are lakhs of people who appear for it and only 1,000 get finally qualified. So it's a very, very tough examination. So the first thing that I will suggest to you is have clarity in your mind with regard to whether you want to become a civil servant. If you have any doubt in your mind, then I don't think you should spend your time in preparing for the civil service. It's a tough exam. Even now I get nightmares that if I do try to get into the civil service now, it will be extremely tough. So it is tough. So be clear in your mind. Be very focused that you do want to become a civil servant. It is only then you should start your preparation. Any doubt, you should dispel it first. Have discussions with people around you. Be convinced that you want to become a civil servant and then get into this journey of civil service. Now, as the examination is very tough, the first thing that you have to do as you get going to prepare is a bit of a sacrifice. It is usually said that there's no gain without pain. So there has to be some sacrifice. And there are a number of sacrifices that you'll have to do. And the first and the foremost sacrifice is get rid of this instrument called mobile phone. My suggestion to you is this is the biggest waster of time. You should get rid of it for at least 22 hours. And those 2 hours that you will have with you, you can use them very fruitfully for your preparation for civil service examination. There's nothing wrong with this instrument. But the tragedy is the manner in which it has come to be used these days, and the manner in which almost every day becomes a Father's Day, Mother's Day, Friend's Day. You feel left out if you are not looking at the phone. So if it is with you, then there is trouble. So get rid of it. Give it to your parents, your friends, your siblings, whoever, but don't keep it with you beyond 2 hours. So that's the first and the foremost sacrifice that you will make. The second part is discipline. Discipline is extremely, extremely important. This addresses not to geniuses who do not require to be disciplined and probably will qualify for the civil service, but it is for people like you and me who are normal human beings who have to discipline themselves in order to get into the civil service. Now, the first aspect of discipline is your schedule for the day. Most of us unconsciously, subconsciously waste a lot of time. And if you work out your own schedule, you will discover how much time do you waste. So by schedule, I mean that you should write down upfront as to how you are spending your entire day. What time do you wake up? How much time do you spend in the toilet? Many people spend different times in toilet, and it all depends on what you've done during the previous night. Then, how much time do you take to go from one place to the other? Many of you would be going to your colleges. What do you do as you travel to your college? What do you do during the spare periods between two periods? You have to eat, drink, sleep, everything civil service. You have to ask yourself this question every moment that you are spending, whether it is helping you to become a civil servant. It is so because of the extremely tough competition. And hence, you should work out your existing schedule and then see where you are exactly wasting your time. Reorganize it and see how you should spend your time. You have 24 hours a day. If you sleep for 7 hours, you still have 17 hours, a lot of time for you to study. If you can eke out 10 to 11 hours a day, I think that's good enough for you. But you should structure it. If you don't structure and schedule your time, you will not know where you're wasting your time. So structure it out, what you will do getting up in the morning, thereafter what will you do. Even when you are eating, when you're walking, you can use all this time for civil service examination. And mind you, when you draw out the schedule for yourself, keep at least 30 to 45 minutes for physical exercises. You must be wondering, why am I talking about physical exercises? It's extremely important because if you're physically fit, you'll be mentally fit. I can give you my own personal example. In the first year, when I appeared for the civil service exam, this was way back in 1979, and I had this habit of lying down and reading. So when I had to sit down for 3 hours in the examination hall, I can tell you my back broke. I lay prostrate on the ground after the examination because I couldn't sit for so long. No, many of you wouldn't be doing that. What I'm trying to tell you is keep yourself physically fit. If that be the case, you will feel good. And when you feel good, you'll be able to assimilate more. The other aspect before I come to specifics on how you should prepare for civil service exam, because these are the general points that I'm telling you, is smile. Why smile? You know, don't take this journey of becoming a civil servant on your burden. If you're burdened with it, I think it will impact your preparation. So if you smile, that physical smile will bring a smile to your mind. You know, you'll be able to assimilate and absorb much more that is going around. Well, everyone has problems. You will also have problems. But if you smile physically, you will see some of it dissipate. So smile and enjoy this journey. Why? Because you and I do not know what is going to be the ultimate result. We may believe that we want this, and that's right. You should be optimistic and look forward to succeeding somewhere, but you don't know what is going to be the result. We belong to a land where we believe in karmanye vadikaraste mahaphaleshu kadachana. So you don't know what the result is, and why bother about the result when you have no control? You have control over these moments now. So focus on these moments, enjoy these moments as you go along. You know, acquisition of knowledge can be a very, very pleasurable experience. Many of you would have had that experience when you're struggling to try to understand a concept and suddenly you come to understand it. It gives you immense amount of pleasure inside, happiness inside. Try and replicate that. Try and recall that. So all these things will help you prepare for the civil service examination. Let me come to specifics of preparation. There are 4 aspects to it. One is acquisition of knowledge. Obviously, without acquiring knowledge, rest of it will not follow. So acquisition of knowledge is paramount. You have to acquire knowledge, and many of you do acquire knowledge as you go along. But that is not the only thing that you should do. For acquisition of knowledge itself, certain other attributes will help you. What are these attributes? One is comprehension. If you have better comprehension, you will be able to understand what you're reading in much shorter time than anybody else. So you have to develop this capacity or this attribute of comprehension. I'll tell you how you can go about it. The third part is, apart from comprehension, you have to have analytical skills. If you look at the question papers and the syllabus, you will understand that the questions that are asked are not straightforward. They seek analysis from you. And if you are able to analyze, if you develop those skills, it will be much easier for you to answer those questions. I'll tell you how to go about it. And the fourth and perhaps the foremost part is communication skills. You may have a lot of things sitting here in your mind. You may have all the analytical skills, but ultimately you will get marks on the basis of what you finally write in the examination hall. Ultimately, your marks will be given on the basis of what you speak during the personality test. So communication skills is key. It is even more important because if by some stroke of luck you do become a civil servant and you don't develop a communication skills, there are chances that you will fail as a civil servant. I've seen that in my career of 38 years. Many civil servants who did not have good communication skills had a lot of problem in their careers. So developing communication skills is as important for getting into the civil service as for becoming a successful officer. All of you would not merely want to get into the civil service. All of you would want to be successful officers, and developing communication skills is a very significant attribute in terms of becoming successful. If by some chance you are unable to make it to the civil service and you do develop your communication skills, I can guarantee that you'll succeed in life. I have come across so many people, and one of the biggest factors in success in life is communication skills, because such skills are required in every walk of life, in personal life, in professional life, otherwise. So develop communication skills. So how do we go about doing all that? Acquiring knowledge, improving comprehension, developing analytical skills, developing communication skills. Before you get down to the knowledge part or comprehension part, have a look at the syllabus. I'm sure you would be looking at the syllabus in any case. But apart from that, because that will provide the contours within which you got to prepare, then also look at the previous year's question papers. Now, mind you, I'm not asking you to look at these question papers with a view to answering them now, because you don't have sufficient knowledge at this point in time. And you should not attempt to answer questions now. Otherwise, if you do that now, you will feel very demoralized. Simple reason, you neither have attributes to write an answer, nor do you have the knowledge to write an answer. So don't attempt that. But have a look at the question papers, because then you'll get the context, the contours, the nature of questions that are asked. So as you go on studying, as you go on acquiring knowledge, you will have that context in mind, you will prepare accordingly. Now let me come to the knowledge part. How do you acquire knowledge? You know, when I was preparing for civil service examination, we had shortage of information. We had dearth of information. So I used to go to university libraries, pick out books and make notes. Now, normally I don't ask you all to prepare notes now. Why? Because there is no need to prepare notes. It's a waste of time. You're copying it from somewhere. Don't do that. Pick up a base book for every topic. I'm repeating that. For every topic in general studies or even in an optional paper, pick up a base book. For example, in the Indian economy that you have to study as a part of general studies, during my time there used to be a book by Rudradatta and KPM Sundaram. Even now I'm told it's a very good book. So make that as a base book, because all the topics that are listed in the context of Indian economy are covered in that book. Now, there could be a possibility that more than one topic gets covered in one book, or maybe just one topic in a book. So pick up a book for every topic. One book may have more than one topic. They become your notes, basic notes. As you read them, as you attempt to acquire knowledge, as you read them, try and see if there are any gaps. Gaps could be in the form of updating statistics. Going back to the book that I had referred to on economy. Now, whichever year book that you will pick up, the last couple of years data will not be there. So you add that data in a slip of paper and put it on that page. Similarly, if you don't understand a particular concept as you are reading it, what you have to do is to go to either Google Uncle, as I call him. You can go to Google Uncle or your mentor or your guide, ask them to explain that concept, write it down in a piece of paper and put it where the chapter is. The reason is when you revise, then you don't have to search for data or search for additional information, it's there. One more thing that you can do with that book, after you selected that book, as you read it, jot down points. Why? Because these points will help you recall and recollect when you get down to revision. So they become your notes. Those points will help you in recalling what you've read earlier. When you read for the second time or the third time and you revise, just go through the points. If you are unable to recall the background material, then you can read the book. That's how revision happens. When you read for the first time, it will take much longer. Perhaps longer than what you decide. As I told you in the beginning, you should have a schedule. Now, from that schedule, you'll determine that this particular topic, you'll do it in 1 day or 2 days. On this particular subject, you'll take so many days. You do some rough calculations to begin with, but don't worry if you are unable to do it in the prescribed time. The reason is very simple. Because when you revise, you will discover you'll require much lesser time. Because in the first reading that you do, it takes time for you to understand. Now, as I talk of understand, I come to another aspect which people ask me. Sir, I read so much, but I forget everything I read. It's very natural. I don't think any one of us photogenic memory of reading it once and remembering it. So how do you remember what you've read? Now listen to this very carefully. One, when you're reading, be totally focused on what you're reading. It has to be totally focused. Cut out all the disturbance, external, internal. I don't know whether it happened with you. With me, it used to happen that I'm reading actually physically, but my mind is elsewhere. So you have to be there when you're reading. Mind has to be there. And this is impacted by the external disturbances. And these external disturbances could be sound. Your friends, so-called friends. I call them so-called friends because if they're true friends, they'll be away from you when you're preparing for the civil service exam. And those that disturb you as you are reading, they are not your friends. So you say no to them. Just politely tell them to go. Because if there's disturbance around, you will not be able to read properly. That's first part. When you are reading, it has to be absolutely focused. The second is, as you read, try and understand what you're reading. Because if you don't understand, then recalling it will be very difficult. So if you read and understand what you're reading, the chances are that you'll recall. So step one is read. Step two is, as you read, try and understand what you're reading. If you don't understand what you're reading, take note of it and ask somebody to explain it to you. The third step is very, very important, which most of us don't do. As you read and as you understand, thereafter, keep the book down, revise, reflect for 5 minutes immediately after reading. The chances are that you'll be able to recall. So the first step is reading. Second is understanding as you read. Third is reflecting on what you read. Just take a walk, close your eyes, sit somewhere, try and recall what you've read. That's the best revision that you can have because then you are trying to revise then and there itself. And the fourth step, very, very important, discuss. I've used that as an instrument. I do that even now. That how do you remember what you've read is by discussing that topic with somebody. I can tell you teaching is the best way to learn. And while discussing, you can teach or you can just discuss. So if you read it properly, if you understood it properly, if you reflected on it, and if you've discussed it, then the chances are that you'll be able to retain it. How do you discuss it? I'll come to that later in a slightly different segment as to what could be the institutional mechanism through which you can discuss whatever you're doing. The other part for recalling is also very interesting as you read. Try and associate what you know with what you don't know. This is, even psychologists say, that if you associate what you don't know with what you already know, the chances are that you'll be able to remember. Let me give my own personal example. Even now, I have this habit of learning, trying to understand things. So when I come across new concepts, I try and associate them with something which I already know. For example, these days, I'm studying some of the Japanese management concepts. One such concept is Soshin. Soshin actually means you should have a childlike excitement to learn, to understand. Like a beginner, you should learn. Now, as I tried to understand this concept, the term child came to my mind, and child in Hindi means Sishu. And Sishu is close to Soshin. So I associated Soshin with Sishu, and now I don't have to recall Sishu. I can remember Soshin and the attributes thereof. Another very interesting concept in Japanese management is wabi-sabi. Don't unnecessarily get obsessed with perfection. Move with imperfect and move towards perfection. Because if you're obsessed with perfection, you will not be able to move. Now, how do you recall this peculiar term wabi-sabi? There is a Lebanese dish called wasabi, and I'm very fond of it. So I picked up wasabi. From wasabi, I came to wabi-sabi. Now I don't have to remember wasabi. I remember wabi-sabi. This could apply to your friend's name, the years. You have to associate with what you don't. So trying to recall what you've read is important. You can evolve your own techniques, but this is what I try to do. So that is how, if you pick up the right book, right selection of the right book is extremely critical. If you don't select the right book, probably you'll be moving in the right direction. And that's where the role of a guide and a mentor becomes very important. In studyIQ, they have mentors who actually tell you what to read, which book to pick up. They may not, some of them may be teaching, but frankly speaking, they're guiding you to pick up the right book. Apart from the book, there are these days excellent videos that are available on YouTube. There again, the problem is there are too many of them. Which one should you pick up? And there, StudyIQ has done some research and suggested a couple of videos for each topic. I'm talking of each topic, not the subject, each topic. So if you combine that book with the videos, I think your understanding will improve. It is helping me even today if I want to understand something. So this is as far as knowledge is concerned. But knowledge itself will not help you. As I said, you have to improve your comprehension, because improving comprehension will help you acquire more knowledge in lesser amount of time. A person who has good comprehension would take maybe 1 or 2 reading to understand what is written. But a person who has poor comprehension, he'll read it 3-4 times. So the same job has to be done, but it takes longer time. And in the civil service examination, time is short in the examination itself. So if you develop your comprehension, it will help you. Now, how do you go about doing it? There are many ways in doing it, but one important aspect of improving comprehension is vocabulary. Because you may have thoughts in your mind, but they're not very clear in your mind. If you have the right word, that clarity will come, even the thought process. And hence, improving your vocabulary becomes very important. Not merely in terms of understanding, but expression also. How do you improve your vocabulary? So whatever you read, if you come across a word which you don't understand, note it down separately. And again, this is where you can use your phone. Go to Google, uncle, write that word and you'll get all the details. But merely writing the meaning of it will not help. You'll have to live that word. You have to use that word. Many people will laugh at you when you use this word wrongly. It happened with me. When I was trying to improve my vocabulary, there were occasions when I used the word wrongly, and there were others who were laughing at me. It didn't really matter to me then, because I know I'm laughing now. I don't what has happened to them. There are a few books also you can use for improving vocabulary. I use Words of Power by Norman Lewis, 30 Days to More Powerful Vocabulary by Wilfred Funk. So these are the authors that have written some excellent books, very scientific way of understanding words and improving vocabulary. You will not merely get those words, but you will understand the fundamentals of vocabulary and you will be able to pick up many, many more words. But important is you have to keep using these words. If you improve your vocabulary, your comprehension will improve. There are other ways of doing it. Whatever you read, try and question what you're reading. If you question what you're reading, you'll go further into it, so your comprehension will increase. Read such material, read the simple one first, and then go into more complex ones. So gradually, your comprehension will improve. Now, knowledge is equally easy to acquire. You read it once, twice, and you'll acquire it. But improving comprehension takes a lot of time. It won't happen overnight. Never think that today I have spoken to you and tomorrow you pick up a book and within 2 days your comprehension will improve. No, it will take much longer. You'll have to have the patience and the perseverance. The next is, how do you develop your analytical skills? As I tell you, extremely critical. Because if you do develop those skills, then it will be much easier for you to not only write answers in your subject, but in papers like ethics and essays, all that will help. And how do you develop your analytical skills? Again, a very slow process. Analytical skills can be developed by reading matter which is analytical in nature. Now, you don't have to go far. All of you would be reading some newspaper or the other. My suggestion to you is read the editorial articles properly in detail. Why? Because these articles are written by men of repute, men of letters. They put their arguments logically, rationally, and analytically, and that is how you will gradually start imbibing those analytical skills. Mind you, it won't happen overnight. You'll have to do that. You have to look at quizzes. You have to develop that sense of analysis that can be developed by reading such articles, such material. So editorial articles are extremely critical in terms of developing analytical skills. Those of you that have a longer period, those that are appearing in 2027, 2028, much later, 2 years, 3 years down the line, can read other articles also. And from time to time, they are being shared by institutions like StudyIQ, where you can read those articles and develop those skills. The final point is with regard to communication skills. As I said earlier, extremely important. If you don't develop your communication skills, you could be in trouble. Now, the question is, how do you improve your communication skills? I would suggest listen to this very carefully. I'm going to suggest a protocol, but that protocol has to be followed regularly. If it is not done regularly, like medicine, it will not have an impact. So do it regularly. What is it? Go back to your editorial page. Open the editorial page. Select one editorial article. Stand in front of a mirror and read it out aloud, but slowly. Meaning thereby, Your voice should be louder, but the speed should be lesser, pronouncing each word carefully, and then record that in your phone. This is very important. These are 2 hours available with you in telephone. Record that in telephone for the simple reason that you will understand where you are faltering. You'll also be able to gauge how you are improving over a period of time if you do it regularly. Do that meticulously every day. Read it aloud, but slowly in front of a mirror and record it. After you've done that, keep the newspaper down, again in front of the mirror, speak what you've read so far in your own words. You will fumble because you haven't done that in the past, and you'll wonder what is the value of what I'm trying to tell you. My friends, I've had this as a personal experience and experience of many such officers who I've guided in the past few years, many of whom are IAS officers, foreign service officers, and police officers. They have benefited out of this drill. So read it aloud and then speak it aloud and record that as well. As I said, you will fumble to begin with, but carry on, don't stop. You will improve as you go along. This is step 2. Step 3 is, after you've read it, after you've spoken about it, then take a piece of paper and write it. Now, this is extremely, extremely critical, because no matter how well you've understood, no matter how well you've spoken, ultimately you're going to get marks on what you write. Many of aspirants come back to me and ask me, sir, tell me how to write an answer. And my question to him, do you know how to write? My friends, if you don't know how to write, how will you write an answer? Make it a habit to express your thoughts seamlessly on a piece of paper. Here you've read something. If you are able to articulate it in black and white on a piece of paper, you'll get into the habit of expressing yourself on a piece of paper. Knowledge you will acquire, analytical skills you will acquire. Once this becomes automated in terms of your ability to write an answer, or write, you'll be able to write an answer as well. So it's extremely important to learn to how to write before you get down to writing an answer. And the second part of developing communication skills is something which is also related to acquiring knowledge, which is also related to analytical skills, is discussion. How do you do that? How do you structure that? My suggestion to all of you is constitute WhatsApp group of 5 persons each. Let this group discuss at a fixed time every day a particular topic. Now, how does it all help? It helps in a number of ways. It provides you knowledge about that particular issue that you will discuss. It will help you articulate your point of view. It will also help you develop analytical skills, because when you present, you will be able to present that analytically. Again, this has to be done regularly. Every day, there will be a principal speaker who will speak on a pre-decided subject for maybe 10 minutes, and then the other persons will speak for 2 minutes. And this will happen by rotation. So every 5th or 6th day, a person will have to speak on a fresh topic and others will respond to it. So if you do this, your communication skills are bound to improve, as it has benefited a large number of aspirants to civil service. So, my friends, all the best to you. If you do all this that I have suggested, the chances are that you'll qualify for the civil service, and by some stroke of luck, you are unable to qualify for civil service examination, you will be better prepared for life. I have spoken a lot about how to prepare for UPSC civil service examination. All of this has been brought out in a recently released book. This book is Navigating UPSC CSE, A Roadmap to Success. It has been authored by me along with a friend and a batchmate, Mr. N. Parthasarthi. Hope you will benefit from this book. Is it different from what you've been told in the past? कुछ अलग है? जो लोगों ने बताया उससे कुछ अलग है? Does this set you thinking in a slightly different manner? Yes. Any questions that you have in mind? Yes.
Can you suggest some measures for ethics case studies?
Okay, so you hang on. Immediately after this session, I am having a session on ethics case study. There I am taking up 2 case studies. And you will get an idea as to how ethics case studies have to be approached. I'll also explain to you, ethics paper has to be understood in a slightly different manner. Usually people read books, which in any case you have to read. But the critical point is, how do you approach a case study? And that I'll explain to you in a study. Did you attend my previous session on ethics? You attend. Now you will get to relate to what I told you earlier to specific 2 case studies today and another 2 case studies I'll take up 1 week down the line. Attend these sessions, listen to it carefully, and you'll understand the approach. Okay? Yes. Oh yes, many setbacks. First year I qualified only for the police service. I wanted to become an IAS officer. So that was a huge setback for me. For some people, it must have been not a setback. It's how you define your setback. I was distraught. I was shaken because I couldn't believe that I have not qualified for the IAS. I had a rank lower than what I had thought I should get. So that was a huge setback. So after that setback, what I did was, and many of you will have setbacks in your life, not only here, is to reflect on what went wrong. That's very important. So some people haven't qualified for preliminary this year, and they are approaching me. I said, first thing, you should sit quietly and understand where did you go wrong, and then sit with a mentor or whoever your guide is to understand what went wrong. So I'll tell you about my own case, what I analyzed myself. When I analyzed, I realized I had so much knowledge that I could not write an answer in half an hour because I had not practiced writing, something which I've mentioned here. You have to practice writing, and then writing answers in that order. Many of you start to get down writing answers now. As I said in my video, if you don't know how to write, how would you write an answer? You should all be in a position to express any thought. So for example, having this conversation with you, you should go back and should be able to write what I told you seamlessly. I don't know whether you run into that problem. I ran into those problems. Many times I had the thought in my mind, but I didn't have the word to express it. आपके साथ होता है ऐसा? मेरे साथ बहुत होता था. अब नहीं होता. By and large, in 90% cases, I get the right word to speak my thought out. But it came through a lot of practice. अब होता क्या है कि सिर्फ किताब पढ़ते हैं, जो फंडामेंटल स्किल्स हैं उनको डेवलप नहीं करते. आप कौन सी ईयर में अपीयर कर रहे हैं? नहीं. सिविल सर्विस के कौन से एग्जाम में अपीयर कर रहे हैं? नहीं, कौन से? 2006, 2007, 26. तो अभी आपके पास थोड़ा टाइम है. 1 घंटा आप निकालिए इस चीज के लिए जो मैंने कहा है रोज. अगर आप नहीं निकालेंगे तो फिर वहीं आप अटक जाएंगे. आता है, थोड़ा नहीं आता, लिख ही नहीं पा रहे. अल्टीमेटली नंबर तो आपको लिखने पे मिलेंगे ना, या बोलने पे मिलेंगे इंटरव्यू पे. आप रखे रहिए यहाँ पे कुछ. वो फंडामेंटल स्किल्स डेवलप करना बहुत जरूरी है जो मैंने बताया. राइट? ओके. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? यस. Okay, good question. So it depends on your communication skills. If you have good communication skills, then you can opt for papers like sociology and philosophy. But I don't suggest it for people from science background. Usually I suggest geography, anthropology, psychology. Why? Because these papers have a lot of factual knowledge that you have to have. Whereas in philosophy and sociology, a lot more analytical knowledge. Your communication skills have to be much better in papers like sociology and philosophy. In geography, you did not have so many communication skills because it's a lot fact-based. So if I were you, I will choose geography, anthropology, or psychology in that order. कॉमर्स तो क्यों नहीं लेना चाहते आप? इनका तो समझ में आता साइंस में. कॉमर्स तो सब्जेक्ट है अवेलेबल. क्यों नहीं लेते आप कॉमर्स? टेक्निकल है कॉमर्स. आप पढ़ कैसे रहे फिर इतना टेक्निकल? देखिए, फर्स्ट सजेशन टू ऑल ऑफ यू इज टेक द सब्जेक्ट दैट यू स्टडीड. दैट्स माय फर्स्ट सजेशन टू ऑल ऑफ यू. बट इफ यू फील यू आर अनेबल टू डू इट, then you have to think twice again, take that subject which you are studying. Because आप एक तरफ वो पढ़ रहे हैं, दूसरा नया सब्जेक्ट पढ़ेंगे. You will spending so much time on both of them. अच्छा, फंडामेंटल आप स्क्रैच से पढ़ेंगे जो नया सब्जेक्ट पढ़ेंगे. फिर भी अगर आप चाह ही रहे हैं, तो I would suggest geography is a good subject for people with a commerce background. Again, expression की प्रॉब्लम है. Sociology, philosophy are subjects or political science, जिसमें you have to have a greater command over language for you to express yourself. So that is, कौन सी ईयर में आप अपियर कर रहे हैं? और अभी आपने डिसाइड ही नहीं किया है कौन सा आपने ऑप्शन लेंगे. एंथ्रोपोलॉजी पढ़ना शुरू कर दिया आपने? देखिए, how many of you are appearing in 2026? Okay, for all of you, if you are unable to complete your entire mains course by December 31st, don't appear in 2026. You have 6 months, and 6 months is a short time. If you are unable to complete, when I say complete, please understand the meaning of complete. It is not merely reading. It is understanding, comprehension, एसिमुलेशन, रिकॉल। अगर आपने सिर्फ एक बार पढ़ लिया है दिसंबर तक, तब नहीं बनेगी बात। आपने वैसे पढ़ा है जैसे मैंने बताया है कि पढ़ा है, अच्छी तरह पढ़ा है, समझा है, उस पर रिफ्लेक्ट किया है और उसे डिस्कस किया है। अगर आपने ये नहीं किया तो आपने बेकार किया। आप फिर 27 में अपियर होइए, लेकिन 27 में जो अपियर होने उनसे नहीं कहेंगे अगले 6 महीने आराम कीजिए आप, फिर यही बात आ जाएगी बाद में। सी, आपको अब तक सब कुछ समझ में आ गया होगा कि आसान नहीं है, ये कठिन है कार्यक्रम, तो उसी हिसाब से काम करना है। अगर आप इसी अभी चिंता में है कि कौन सा सब्जेक्ट लें, तब आप 26 में तो नहीं अपियर कीजिए, क्योंकि लेट हो गया आप 26 के लिए सब्जेक्ट डिसाइड करना। If you have not been able to decide the subject is yet your optional, then it's late for 2026. And I'm very clear in my mind. Go for 2027 then. और 2027 के लिए कितने लोग हैं? कोई नहीं है। 28 में आप दोनों हैं। आप दोनों के लिए जो आज मैंने बोला बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। बहुत। किताबें ढूंढने से ज्यादा वो चीज कीजिए जो मैंने बताया। अगर अगले 1 साल में आपने अपनी थिंकिंग ठीक कर ली, अपनी भाषा ठीक कर ली, तो चांसेस हैं आप क्वालिफाई कर जाएंगे। लेकिन अगर थिंकिंग और भाषा नहीं की और आप इधर उधर घूमते रहे भी, तो 28 बहुत दूर है। देखिए, मैं अपना उदाहरण देता हूं। मैंने अपनी तैयारी के लिए तैयारी क्लास 12 के बाद शुरू कर दी थी। क्या तैयारी की थी? किताब नहीं पढ़ता था मैं अपनी भाषा सुधार रहा था। जो मैंने बताया मैंने किया है। जब मैं शीशे के सामने खड़े होकर न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ता था, तो मेरे कई दोस्त, सो कॉल्ड दोस्त, हंसते थे मुझ पर। मुझे पता नहीं आज क्या कर रहे हैं, मैं आज हंस रहा हूं। मेरी मजाक बनाते थे, ये क्या तुम शब्द, किताब 2 किताबें पढ़ता था मैं, विल्फ्रेड फंग, नॉर्मन लुइस की, और उससे शब्दों को मैं ग्रहण करता था, समझता था। तो लोग हंसते थे, कई बार गलत प्रयोग हो जाता था उन शब्दों। लोग हंसते थे, ये क्या तुम गलत कर रहे हो? ठीक, गलती कर रहे। तो आपको अपना व्यक्तित्व, यानी कि ये क्वालिटी सुधारनी है आप दोनों को। और जो लोग 26 में अपियर हो रहे हैं, वो तो आई होप यू वर्किंग आउट with clarity that by December 31st, because in January and February you should have done at least 1 to 2 revisions. फरवरी के बाद आप प्रिलिमिनरी में जुड़ जाएंगे। Is that clear with all of you? Do you understand what I am saying? आप थोड़ा परेशान दिख रही हैं। नहीं ठीक, तो मैं इसलिए परेशान कहता हूं, मुस्कुराइए थोड़ा सा। मैंने क्या कहा? मुस्कुराइए। परेशान है तो भी मुस्कुराइए। जब आप फिजिकली मुस्कुराएंगे तो आपका मस्तिष्क भी थोड़ा मुस्कुराने लगेगा। ठीक है? So this is, to my mind, is critical. आप लोग ये कह रहे हो इससे पढ़ाई से क्या मतलब? जो सर ने कहा ये तो ऐसी है, इसमें क्या मतलब? किताब तो पढ़ाई नहीं, हिस्ट्री, ज्योग्राफी, पॉलिटिकल साइंस, ये तो पढ़ाया नहीं। वो तो सब पढ़ ही लेंगे। अगर आप वो अपने आप नहीं पढ़ सकते तो फिर आप सिविल सर्विस में मत बैठिए। हाँ, now until you are a genius, I don't know what you are. I'll have to discuss longer with you. But I think if you have not decided on your optional as yet, go for 2027. देखिए, एक और चीज मैं अक्सर कहता हूं, इसमें कहते हैं ट्राई करना नहीं होता कि हम इस साल ट्राई दे देते हैं। ये बड़ी स्ट्रक्चर पढ़ाई है। मतलब आपको बिल्कुल स्टेप बाय स्टेप चलना है। जो मैंने बताया बिल्कुल स्टेप बाय स्टेप। पहले सही किताबों का चयन इंपॉर्टेंट है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। और अच्छी चीज स्टडी आईक्यू ने क्या किया है कि इन्होंने आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया है मटेरियल। आपको बहुत ज्यादा रिसर्च करने की जरूरत नहीं, वो मटेरियल पकड़ लीजिए आप। फिर बहुत अच्छे वीडियोस बन गए हैं। मैं अक्सर मजाक में कहता हूं कि अगर मुझे इतने अच्छे वीडियो मिल गए होते उस समय तो मैं टॉप कर जाता। 14-15 नंबर से मैं बचा टॉपिंग से। इतने अच्छे वीडियो थे नहीं तब। अब स्टडी आईक्यू के इतने गजब के वीडियो। अब आप अगर खुद ढूंढने जाएंगे, हर टॉपिक पर है वीडियो। आप खुद ढूंढने जाएंगे तो दिन भर आप लगा देंगे वीडियो ढूंढने, कितना मसाला है आपको पता नहीं लगेगा कौन सा पढ़। इन्होंने निकाल लिया कि ये 1-2 वीडियो आप देख लीजिए, वो पढ़िए वीडियो देखिए, पढ़िए वीडियो देखिए। देखिए, पढ़ के वीडियो देखने में क्या है, आप मालूम नहीं, आप लोग समझ में, वो आपके दिमाग में टिकती है चीज। क्योंकि जब आप पढ़ के वीडियो देखते हो तो रिकॉल होता है, अरे ये तो मैंने पढ़ा था, अच्छा हाँ ये तो यही था। मेरा आपसे सबसे सजेशन ये है कि मैं हफ्ते में 1 सेशन लेता हूं, यहां पर मिस ना कीजिए सेशन, क्योंकि उसकी कंटिन्यूटी है। जैसे मैंने इनसे प्रश्न किया कि आपने पिछला एथिक्स का सेशन अटेंड किया था, इन्होंने कहा हाँ, मैं आई एम हैप्पी, बिकॉज ये आज जो मैं बताऊंगा समझ लेंगे। आप में से कई लोगों ने अटेंड नहीं किया पिछला सेशन, अब आप सडनली आ गए। अब आप देखेंगे, अब कॉन्टेक्स्ट ढूंढेंगे क्या बोल रहे हैं, क्यों हम उसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बात करेंगे। तो ये निर्णय आपका है, मैं आपसे नहीं कह सकता आप आइए हर सेशन में, लेकिन अगर आप मेरे सेशन अटेंड कर रहे हैं तो सब अटेंड कीजिए, सब लिंक्ड है एक दूसरे से, क्योंकि मैं अगले सेशन में एथिक्स की बात करूंगा और उसके अगले सेशन में सेकंड सेट ऑफ केस स्टडीज लूंगा और उसके बाद में एसे लूंगा। नाउ ये एसे, एथिक्स और जो उसके बाद में फिलोसफर्स लूंगा, पॉलिटिकल फिलोसफर्स, ये सब लिंक्ड हैं, दे आर ऑल इंटरकनेक्टेड। ये जरा सोच लीजिएगा आप लोग कि अगर आप समझते हैं कि इसका यूजफुल है जो मैं बोल रहा हूं, तो मेरा सुझाव यह है कि हर सेशन अटेंड कीजिए, आपको पहले से मालूम पड़ जाएगा, तो आपको एक कनेक्ट मिलेगा। अदरवाइज आपको सडनली मैं कोई नई चीज बताने लगूंगा, आपको लगेगा जिन्हें क्या बोलना है। सोचिएगा इस बात को, ठीक है? एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? देखिए, आपको जो चीज अच्छी लगती है उसमें तो इनकंसिस्टेंट होते नहीं आप, होते हैं। आपको आइसक्रीम अच्छी लगती है, मिल जाएगी धड़ से खाएंगे आप, पिक्चर जाना होगा धड़ से आएंगे, तो आपको अच्छा नहीं लग रहा जो आप कर रही हैं, कंसिस्टेंसी आएगी अपने आप। कभी कभी क्या होता है कि आप इसको बर्डन समझते हैं। जो चीज, देखिए मुझे क्रिकेट अच्छा लगता है तो मैं सेशन भी ऐसे ही रखता हूं स्टडी आईक्यू में, आज शाम को इंग्लैंड इंडिया का मैच देख लूं, कंसिस्टेंसी आ गई। मेरी जितनी मीटिंग्स हैं वो आगे पीछे होंगी, वो उसमें नहीं होगी, ये मुझे अच्छा लगता है, मैं तरीका निकाल लूंगा उसमें कंसिस्टेंट रहने का। इनकंसिस्टेंसी का प्रमुख कारण यह है कि यू डोंट लाइक इट एज मच एज यू शुड। कोई मदर अपने बच्चे के लिए इनकंसिस्टेंट नहीं होती, उसको तो इतने बजे दूध पिलाना है तो दूध पिलाना है, कंसिस्टेंसी है, क्योंकि एक कमिटमेंट है, एक मोटिवेशन है। या तो मोटिवेशन की कमी है या डिजायर की कमी है, और कोई तरीका हो ही नहीं का। तीसरा, अगर है कोई डिस्टर्बेंस, जो मैंने कहा था, अगर कोई डिस्टर्बेंस है जो आपको इनकंसिस्टेंट बना रहा है, उसको हटा दीजिए। उसका कारण क्या है? जो आपके सो कॉल्ड दोस्त हैं जो आपको डिस्टर्ब कर रहे हैं, वो दोस्त है ही नहीं। दोस्त होते तो समझ जाते आप तैयारी कर रहे हैं, और दोस्त नहीं तो किस बात की चिंता, उनसे कहते भैया मैं जरा पढ़ रही हूं। तो आपको ही थोड़ा टफ डिसीजंस लेने पड़ेंगे, और कंसिस्टेंसी तभी आएगी जब आपको वो चीज अच्छी लगने लगेगी या इतना तगड़ा मोटिवेशन होगा कि आप वहां पे जाएं। ठीक है? ये इट इज टोटली डिपेंडेंट ऑन यू। उसको देखिए, आपको महसूस होता नहीं होता, मुझे तो आज भी इस उम्र में भी आके जब कोई नई चीज मैं सीखता हूं तो मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता है अंदर, एंड आई ट्राई टू लर्न न्यू थिंग। मैंने बताया ना आपको, वासाबी और सब मैं सीख रहा हूं आजकल, मुझे अब भी मजा आता है। मजा नहीं आएगा तो मुझे जरूरत तो है नहीं, आपको जरूरत है, मुझे जरूरत नहीं, लेकिन फिर भी मैं कर रहा हूं। क्यों? क्योंकि मुझे अच्छा लगता है। आपको तो जरूरत भी है, तो आपको तो अच्छा लगना चाहिए, और मुस्कुराइए थोड़ा ज्यादा। हाँ, एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? अब देखिए, जो लोग अभी अभी आए वो क्या क्वेश्चन करेंगे, मुझे समझ में नहीं आता क्यों आए हैं, आप कैसे सर्विस की तैयारी करेंगे, या तो आइए या मत आइए। मतलब ये क्या है तरीका कि हम 2 मिनट पहले हम पहुंच गए वहां पर। देखिए, आपको खुद डिसिप्लिन करना, मैं बार बार इस चीज को कह रहा हूं, डिसिप्लिन को, बिकॉज डिसिप्लिन इज द की, और उस डिसिप्लिन में सैक्रिफाइसेस आर नेसेसरी, वो होंगी सैक्रिफाइसेस। आप अगर उसको भी तैयार नहीं तो कैसे काम चलेगा? फिर आप क्यों कर रहे हैं सिविल सर्विस की तैयारी में, अगर आप डिसिप्लिन नहीं कर सकते आपको? और ये डिसिप्लिन आता है क्योंकि आपका डिजायर है डिसिप्लिन के लिए, नहीं मिस्टर अनिल स्वरूप कहकर डिसिप्लिन होना है इसलिए सावधान रहो, नहीं, या आपको अंदर से आना चाहिए भाई। और एक बार मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, वो जीवन का सिद्धांत जो मैंने बचपन में सीखा, एक बार डिसिप्लिन हो जाएगी तो बात आज भी मैं आई ऑर्गेनाइज एवरीथिंग कि दिन भर मुझे इतने बजे यहां जाना है, इतने बजे यहां, उसमें कुछ होती है कुछ नहीं होती, लेकिन मैं नहीं करता उसमें कोई गलती। दूसरा कोई सर्कमस्टांस आ जाए जिससे नहीं जाए, ट्रेन लेट हो गई, गाड़ी खराब हो गई, तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? लेकिन मेरा अगर गाड़ी ठीक है, अब आज आना था मुझे ध्यान ही नहीं था सैटरडे है, तो छुट्टियां है मेरे लिए, तो हर दिन बराबर है। मैं अपना आधे घंटे का मार्जिन रख के आया, पता लगा ट्रैफिक नहीं था, 1 घंटे पहले आप तुरंत हो गए यहाँ पर। क्या बात है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, फोन है ना, तो काम कर रहे हैं अपने बैठे हुए। तो आपको डिसिप्लिन करना पड़ेगा। मैंने मालूम नहीं कहा नहीं कहा स्पीच में, जब आप जहां आप रहते हैं यहां आते हैं, कितना टाइम लगता है आपको वहां से यहाँ आने में? 1 आवर लगता है। क्या करती हैं उसे 1 घंटे में? रास्ते में इतना छोटा छोटा पढ़ लेती हैं आप? पढ़ती हैं आप क्या करती हैं? कितना टाइम लगता है आपको वहां से यहाँ आने में, जहां रहती हैं? हैं? क्या करती हैं उसे? नोट्स रिवाइज करती हैं। देखिए, मेरा सजेशन ये है, देखिए पढ़ना डिफिकल्ट होता है, आप सही कह रही हैं, हिल रही है गाड़ी आपकी आईज पे, आप डिस्कस कीजिए 1 घंटे में, किसी के साथ टाई अप कर लीजिए जो वहां से आ रहा है, आसपास है कोई, अगर संभव हो तो डिस्कस कीजिए। वो 1 घंटे का टाइम डिस्कशन के लिए बड़ा बढ़िया है। डिसाइड कर लीजिए कल, अच्छा हम तुम साथ चलेंगे, जरा ये वाला टॉपिक डिस्कस करें, आप पहले बोलिए फिर वो बोले, डिस्कस कर लीजिए। ये ना डिस्कशन इतना इंपॉर्टेंट टूल है तैयारी का कि उससे बेहतर नहीं है। तो क्योंकि मुझे अभी अगला सेशन 12 बजे लेना है, वो थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट एथिक्स पे, तो मैं इसे यहीं समाप्त कर रहा हूं। मेरा आपसे सुझाव ये है कि बाय एंड लार्ज हर हफ्ते सैटरडे को लगभग इसी टाइम पे मैं आया करूंगा। अगर आप ठीक समझते तो आइए, और इस बीच भी अगर आपके हफ्ते में कोई प्रश्न आता है उसको नोट कर लीजिए और पूछिए, आई विल ट्राई एंड आंसर दोस क्वेश्चंस। बट आपको कमिटमेंट आपका है, डिसिप्लिन आपका, मैं सिर्फ कह ही सकता हूं आपसे। और बाकी जैसा मैंने इसमें कहा है कि संभव हो तो आप लोग एक व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप बना लीजिए और शाम को आधा घंटा पौन घंटा किसी टॉपिक पर डिस्कस कर लीजिए, ठीक है? ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच, गॉड ब्लेस यू। वील ब्रेक फॉर 5 minutes and then we'll start the session at 12 o'clock.
Record.